Kuf Lamed Vav Amad Aleph Ibayilahu. So the Gemara had previously told us a statement of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel told us that with the human child, the first 30 days, the viability of the child is in doubt, and with the animal, the first 7 days, the viability is in doubt. So until you've crossed those thresholds, 30 days for a person, 7 days for an animal, so you really don't know if it's a viable live birth. So that had ramifications for a Pidyon Ben, not so much for a bris milah, maybe for the preparations of a bris milah. Okay, but now the Gemara has the following question: Ibayilahu mi pligi rabbanan alei de Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Hello. So question number one is this a machlokas? Rabbi Shimon Gamliel made this statement, but is he alone, or does everybody agree with him? Im tim tilamar pligi halacha kamosa. Why halacha kamosa? And question number two is: let's say there is a machlokas. Follow-up question. Do we paskin like him or not? Is the halacha like him or is it not like him? So that's the question. Let's try and figure it out. So the Gemara's first attempt, Tashma, the Gemara brings in a clue. Egel shenolad b'yom tov, shochtano, so b'yom tov, a calf, a baby calf that could be born on Yantif, you can shecht it on Yantif. The assumption that shechting an animal for food preparation is mutter on Yantif. So this Bryce is telling us that even if that calf was born that day, which might potentially be a muktzah problem, so the Bryce is telling us that you can shecht and eat the animal the day it's born. But if Rabbi Shimon Gamliel were correct, then that animal should be possibly treif, because Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is correct that it takes a week to know that an animal is viable. So how could you eat an animal which you don't know? Maybe it's not a healthy animal. Maybe it's treif. So the existence of this brisa would suggest that it's at the very least it's a machlokas, that there's another opinion out there. So that would at least answer our first question, maybe our second question as well. But the Gemara rejects that as a proof. So the Gemara answers that maybe this brisa is referring to a case where you know for a fact the animal was brought to full term, was in the womb for the full amount of time. Kalulo chadashav, meaning its months in the womb were complete. So the basis for Shimon Gamliel's din is that we don't know. Sometimes babies are born prematurely. So until it's gotten through a certain time period, you don't know if it's viable. So maybe the Bryce is referring to an animal where you do know for a fact that it had the full gestation. All right, so that was inconclusive. The Gemara tries again with a very similar question. Tashma. Here we go again. V'shavin shim nolad hu umumo imo shezeh min hamuchan. All right, so this is only half of a Bryce. So the first half of the Bryce records a machlokas about whether it's mutter if you have a firstborn animal. A firstborn animal is normally brought as a korban. But if it has a mum, if it has a blemish, if it has a mum, then it can't be brought as a korban, and it can be just eaten as is. I mean, shechted, and you can eat it as is. But only if it's been declared to have a mum. So there's a machlokas not quoted here about if that's mutter to do on Yom Tov. And the part that we care about, V'shavin, they agree, everyone agrees, Shim nolad hu mumo imo shezeh min hamuchan, that if it's born with a clear blemish, then it's definitely min hamuchan. Muchan is the opposite of muktzah. It means that it's ready to use. So there'll be no problem. Okay, but that din assumes that there's no problem with eating an animal the day it's born. So that would again suggest that you don't need the 7 days. But again, the Gemara gives the exact same answer. We're talking about a case where the months were for sure completed, all the months of the gestation. All right, so strike two. Tashma, we try again. So we have a statement from Shmuel, quoted by Rav Yehuda, that says, Halach Rav Shimon Gamliel. We paskin in this case like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. So that answers both our questions. Because you wouldn't make a statement like that if there was no machlokas. And we see that halacha does follow him. So now we've answered yes to both our questions. There is a machlokas, and we do follow him. This quote from Shmuel answers both our questions. We're successful. The third time is the charm. And there is our proof, Shema Mina. So that's how the Gemara can say Shema Mina. Okay, we can learn from that the answers to our questions. Okay, more on this topic. Amar Abaye. Abaye said, Nafal managag o achalo ari divrei akol chayhu. So we'll see this is going to get modified in a little bit. But what Abaye is saying right now is that if you have a child, a human child within the first month, or an animal child within the first week, and it dies in that time period, but for an external reason, it fell off a roof, or it was eaten by a lion, or hit by a train, or something like that. So in those situations, so there's no machlokas, meaning Chachamim would say that a child is always considered alive. You don't need to wait a week or a month. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel would say you need to wait a week or a month in general, but if something external, something random happened to kill the child, so then that wouldn't be relevant. Ki pligi, the only time they argue, shepihe gumes, when the child, the newborn, took a breath and then died. So then the question is there something unviable about the child? Mar savar chai, mar savar me. So that's in the machlokas, and the Chachamim say that's fine. We still consider it to have been a live child as long as it was alive. Mar savar me, so Shimon was of the opinion that it never really was a live child. Okay, l'may nafkamina. Okay, so that's the machlokas according to Abaye. The question is l'may nafkamina. What's the difference? Right? What's the practical difference? Either way, it's dead now. Who cares if it was alive or not? Liftor min hayibum. So a very important practical ramification would be: did the life of this child, brief as it was, did it exempt his or her mother from yibum? Meaning what? So there's a mitzvah of yibum, that if a married man dies with no children, there's an automatic obligation for his widow and his brother to marry each other. That's the mitzvah of yibum. They could perform chalitza to break that connection, and then they can marry whoever they want. But the death of the husband without children does create this obligation for yibum. So what if there was a child who only survived a week or two? So would that exempt from yibum? So that would seem to be this machlokas between Rosh Hashanah and Gamliel and the Chachamim. The Chachamim, it's okay, the kid was alive. They had, the parent did not die with no children. So there is no obligation of yibum. But Rosh Hashanah and Gamliel would seem to say until it makes past the 1 month threshold, then the child is never considered part of the equation, and yibum would still be in play. Okay. Now the Gemara says, the Gemara questions, is that really true? That everybody agrees that life was considered a life if something external happened within the first month? Not necessarily. So here's the story. Rav Papa and Rav Huna bar Rav Yeshua, these two guys, they found themselves in the house of Rav Bar Avin's son. And he prepared for them a calf. A igla tilsa is a fancy kind of cow. B'yamama deshiva, on the 7th day of its life. So the Amrile, and the guest said to him, he said, oh, you were so close. If you had just waited, if you had just waited to shecht it until tonight, the night of the 8th day, I would have been happy to eat from this animal. Now that you killed it before it lived a full 7 days on its own, so then we will not eat from it. Okay, what do we see from that story? We see from that story that even if something external happens to end the life of the animal or the child, we're still not going to assume that it was healthy until it's lived out the full week for an animal, the full month for a child. If what Abaye had said was correct, that everybody agrees that if something external happens, like falling off of a roof, if everyone agrees that that does not undermine the status of the child, so then in this story, when the Rav Bar Avin's son shechted an animal a few hours short of a full week, so then everyone should agree that that's fine, and yet Rav Papa and Rav Huna do not agree that it's fine. So Abaye has to be modified. Okay, so we just shifted over a little bit. So really what's going on, before we said everyone agreed if something external happened, that doesn't undermine the status. So we say, no, that's not true. That's what the machlokas is. The machlokas is when the child dies before hitting that 7-day or 30-day threshold. So that's what the machlokas is about. How do we view that life. If the child died on its own, took a breath and then died, so then for sure everyone agrees that that's where there's no machlokas. That's where everyone agrees that life is not considered a viable life. Okay. More on that topic. A couple of stories, sad stories. Bered Rav Dimi bar Yosef Isali lehu Yonuka begot tlasin yomin shachiv. So Rav Dimi's son had a child. Isili lehu Yonuka. He had a child born to him. Begot tlasin yomin shachiv, but died within 30 days. Within 30 days, tlasin yomin shachiv, he died. So So Yosef comes abali lave. So Rav Dimi's son sat shiva and was sitting in avelus on his baby child. So Amrli Avua, said, perhaps insensitively, Tzav Renisa Kabois Lameicha, says, what are you doing sitting Shiva? Meaning, Rav Dimi thought that his son was going too far sitting Shiva for a child that didn't last 30 days, and said, sarcastically, Tzav Renisa Kabois Lameicha, what? You just want the Avelis, the Shiva food that people bring over? You need something to eat, so you're sitting Shiva when you don't need to? So Amar Le, Rav Dimi's son, responded to him, Kim Libe Shekala Chadasha. The same answer we gave in the first couple of Tashmaz. He said, yeah, it's true in general, there shouldn't be Shiva in the situation. That is indeed how we paskin, that there is no Shiva until a child has survived 30 days. But Rav Dimi's son said, in this situation, I know for a fact that the child was in the womb for the full 9 months, so there really was no need for the 30 days to determine its viability. And I know for a fact that what caused the death of the child was not because it was not viable, is because it was viable and something happened. So he sat Shiva for the child, even though it's not something that would normally be done. A similar story, Rav Ashi Ikla Bei Rav Kahana. Rav Ashi was by Rav Kahana. And he also suffered the death of a child less than 30 days old. And he saw that Rav Kahana was having avelus on this child. So he asked him the same question. He said, don't you pass like Shimon Gamliel? Then less than 30 days, we consider it as not having been viable. So Amrlei Kimli Begavish Kala Chadash, of the same answer we've now seen 4 times, that he knew for a fact that it had the full 9 months. Okay. It's Mar Meis So Shloshim Yom Yom Niskadsha. So here's a more complicated question. What happens if a child died within 30 days? And the mother, who had no other children, in theory, this child, whether it was alive or whether it had been alive or not, whether it was halachically alive or not, would be important to determine whether or not she has to perform yibum or chalitza with her brother-in-law, or she's free to marry somebody else. So what would happen if in this case, so she went ahead and accepted kiddushin from some other man, even though her marital status is actually the subject of a dispute between B'Shem Gamliel and the Chachamim. So what will we do in that case? Amar Ravina Mishmei de Rava. So Ravina quotes Rava as that Im Eishes Yisrael he choletzes, Im Eishes Kohen he eino choletzes. So Ravina quoted Rava as saying, well, it depends. This new guy that she married, is he a Kohen or is he not? Because if he's just a Yisrael, there's really no harm done. You could do the chalitza now, and she could stay married to the new guy. Imesh is Kohen he, but if the second husband was a Kohen, so there's an Isser in Torah for a Kohen to marry a divorced woman. A woman who's been through chalitza is not quite a divorced woman, but it's similar. There's an Isser D'Rabbanan for a Kohen to marry a chalutza. So Ravina quoted Rava saying, if Sheish is Kohen, then don't do the chalitza. It's better to rely on the chachamim. According to the chachamim, the child, even though it didn't last a month, was a live child, and she doesn't need chalitza or even anything. She can marry the guy, no problem. So if he's a Kohen, then don't do it. If he's not a Kohen, then do it to be safe. That was the first version of Rava. Rav Shravya, Mishmei de Rava, Amar Achazu v'Achazu chaletzes. Rav Shravya quoted the same Rava as saying you should do chalitza even if it's a Kohen. Presumably, it's the much more danger in being married to another person when you're chayav and yibum. That's considered adultery, as opposed to the prohibition, the rabbinic prohibition of a Kohen marrying a chalutza is not nearly as serious. So Rav Shravya quoted the same Rav as saying she should do chalitza no matter who her new husband is. Amar le Ravina Rav Shravya. So Ravina, who gave the more lenient version of Rava, that chalitza is not required when she remarried a Kohen. So Ravina says to Rav Shravya, who gave the more strict version, he says, yeah, Ba'urta Amar Rava. He says, you heard Rava correctly. Ba'urta, at night, Rava did say the stricter version, and then you went home. But Safra Hadarbe, but in the morning he changed his mind. So I got the more updated version of Rava. He's more lenient. So Amarle, so Rav Shravya did not take that so well. Amarle Shritua. He says, what, you're just going to Shritua, you're just going to permit this? You're going to Shari, you're going to allow a possible adultery situation? Yehei Rava did Tishru Tarba. So angrily he said, may it be Yehei Rava, may it be Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will, did Tishru Tarba, that you're going to come to permit something like non-kosher food, non-kosher chelev, the serious prohibition. If you're, one leniency could lead to another. So he was sharply responding to him by saying, be very careful what you do. Okay, we will stop there.